Welcome, everyone. This is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about standards, expectations, and assumptions. When I was writing this article, there was a video that was going viral at the time of a father, could have been a father, stepfather. It was a man and a daughter. The daughter was like maybe 8 or 9 or something like that. Or the girl was 8 or 9. We don't know if she was the daughter or whatever it was. So many people are like, this is wrong. He shouldn't be doing this because he, I guess, put his hand on her behind and then like he was kissing her. We have to ask ourselves a question now, right? Because is this wrong for a parent to love their child? Of course, some people say it was too far. But then I know moms who would kiss their kids on the lips. Is that too far? Is the aspect of, giving their kids, a big celebration in the air too much because they can fall and get hurt? I mean, who are we to tell another parent how they should be raising and loving their child? Because we can look at different cultures. For example, they seem to be like some type of Hispanic, maybe Italian. I think they're more Italian. It looked like that from the picture. And I think the language was around there too. They have a different state of an understanding of feelings. For us as Americans, we're kind of cold shoulders. We can look at 40% of kids growing up are not going to have a father. So we can have 40% of individuals being bitter because they don't have a father figure in their life, a positive, strong male role model. It is easy for us to look at what's happening in the world today and say, you know what? We're going to put this under scrutiny because it is different than what I accept. It is different than what I deem acceptable. Because even when that happened, I presented them with a wonderful amount of information of other examples of other individuals that are popularized that I say, hey, how about this guy? And they're like, oh, this is not about him. I'm like, well, why not? Why is it not about him or about her? Why is it about this gentleman who is there with the daughter trying to be the best person possibly that he can be, maybe? I don't know. Could there have been some shady stuff going on? Of course. There can always be shady stuff going on. But for us to automatically assume the negative, I found it astounding. Today, I have to, go into it. I said, I'm going to write an article on standards, expectations, and assumptions. Because when we can look at those 3 critical areas, then we can start to look at a situation, look at a scenario, and then come out on the other end with either our own personal belief, or we can look at the situation and dissect it accordingly and properly. Because right now, most people are just, again, making the assumptions. And when we can look at the standards and the expectations that are also supposed to be present, then the assumptions are going to be canceled out to a degree that, of course, we still have to look at that because it is going to be that gift of fear in a sense that we are focusing on the things that might not be visible, because you might have someone who loves you, but then the next day they might, stab you in the back or something like that. And I don't want to go negative or anything, but we're not going to just assume that our best friend is going to do something to harm us. Typically, we're going to assume our best friend is going to have our best intentions at heart always. But then again, it happens. So there's many different layers, and we're going to be talking about all those layers right now. All right, everyone, if you're new to the podcast, new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share the video and our audio to help build a community of people who are understanding what is going on in their mind. Because when we look at the standards of society, let's look at that first. The standards of society are going to be telling you, hey, well, this is what the societal norms are. So societal norms say this is normal. For example, it is normal for you as a parent to send your kid to school. It is normal for you to go to work a 9 to 5. It is normal for you to go to the grocery store when you need groceries. It is not normal for you to homeschool your kids. It is not normal for you to grow your own food. And it's not normal for you to have your own personal business that you don't have to go to work at 9 to 5 and you can make a living. That is not considered the norm. When you do the things that are outside of the norm, you're living independently from that societal norm. There's nothing wrong with anything that I just said, right? There's nothing wrong with homeschooling your kids. There's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur, business owner, having your own business. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with you understanding that you have the capabilities and the power to live your life accordingly to your standards. But then again, we can say that you're supposed to be following everyone else. You should have the same house as everyone else. You should have the same car as everyone else. And then if you don't, we're going to ridicule you and we're going to say that you shouldn't be having it. You should give away what you have earned. Think of what the poor or the lower class individuals do with the rich. Oh, we're going to tax the rich more. Oh, the rich need to be taxed more heavily. So if you make over $400,000, you're going to have to pay more in taxes. Why? Oh, because you can. Because you were more effective and more efficient and you were a go-getter. That's the standard, huh? That's the expectation, huh? And we assume that since you're doing so well that you can just afford to pay more taxes. But then again, in our life, we look at these standards, expectations, and assumption, and it's not just what we have talked about just right now. It can be in every little aspect. Relationships. We can look at the schooling. We can look at careers. We can look at every single aspect, and there's always going to be standards there. There's always going to be expectations there. And there's always going to be people who assume. This is not to be said that if you assume you're a bad person, because I don't believe that if you make an assumption, you're a bad person. But then at the same time, we do have to understand that the mind is naturally negative. So we can look at a situation that doesn't look promising and we can say, well, this, doesn't look too good. And we can make an assumption that this person is bad, this person is evil. But then if we present the same information, the same logic about someone that they favor. So if an individual favors a certain person, maybe they don't like another person. Think of it as opponent, like a political party. You can say, I really like this person. This person has good values, good beliefs, etc. And they might have a shady past. They might have things that are not really that good, on a piece of paper and visually it doesn't look appealing. But then we can look on the other side and we can say, oh, a lot of people say this person is bad. This person is no good. We can create a stigma on this person. And even if we compare, well, this person does the same thing that you said that this person does. Oh, it's not the same. Well, why is it not the same? And the reason it's not the same is because we have not given that person any expectations. Our expectations are almost nil for this individual. So if they're not able to succeed, if they're not able to do good, if they fail at every single corner, it doesn't matter because we did not give them expectations. The standard was set so low, the expectations were never there. And we assumed that they're always going to be giving our faith. We have given them our faith that they're going to do the best by us and for us. But that's not the reality of how things go. There's always going to be a fluctuation at some point, and sometimes people get blindsided by being betrayed by someone and they say, I never saw it coming. Why? Because you didn't look at the standards or the expectations that you set forth for the individual, the relationship that you have? Or were you just in the assumption phase that everything is going to be okay, that everything is going to be good? In this article here, I go into detail. We talk about societal norms. We talk about societal pressures. We talk about cultivating deeper understanding of what you need to do to get through these challenges, and just an overall understanding of not making the mistakes that many people do by following into these stereotypes. We can go down this whole entire blog and we can read it, but I do want you to read it, to learn about it, to give yourself a mindset that you can learn a thing or two if you can look at a situation or a mindset in the realm of standards, expectations, and assumptions. With that being the foundation for our conversation, we can look at the true issue with standards, expectations, and assumptions. Because I can give someone a standard, I can give someone an expectation, and typically if you're a parent or a teacher or you're a worker, like a boss or something, like a manager, you have expectations for people. You have to do this or you're fired or you're grounded or you're going to get in trouble, right? There's something that is there that's saying, hey, you need to get this done. There's also a mindset there that doesn't talk about if you want to excel, is there any benefit to that? So many people, they find these standards, they find the expectations, they say this is just enough. So the standard level of fitness is, okay, I need to make sure I can walk to the store, walk to my car, walk to the fridge, walk up some stairs, walk to my cubicle, right? So that might be the standard. But then what does that standard leave you? What, out of shape, full of stress and anxiety and unhappiness? It could be, right? Maybe that's the standard, right? Because the standard right now, if we compare, ourselves to people, and I don't want to do that like all the time, but we are going to be looking at the standard is many people in this world are overstressed, overburdened, over anxious, and unfulfilled. That's the standard. Do you want to be part of that standard? I hope you don't, but how many people fall into that category? Too many to count. And the number is rising every single moment. How can we turn that around? How can we turn that standard around? And the reality is we don't control that standard. Society controls that standard. So society is going to say, well, if you do something that's against my standard, you are not following the crowd. And now you're going to be outcasted and ostracized. And that's the last thing we want to do mentally. Because if we feel like we are not following the crowd and we're under attack, that's when people do things like that are not healthy for their body. I'll say that. We need to look at ourselves as being omnipotent rather than looking for people to accept our stature, who we are, our personality, our emotions, right? We don't need anyone to accept that as long as you accept it. But then again, that's not the standard. We never are taught that. So the expectation now for us is that we need to be a good boy or a good girl, and we need to listen to what we are told. A parent, seemingly and unknowingly, will have a favorite child. Why? Because they're going to look at, is this child a better fit for me? This child listens to me. This child is not giving me headache. Is not giving me gray hairs. Is not causing me worries. That's not indicative to a good child. But then again, the expectation that we give our child is that you're following my expectations, so I'm favoring you in my mind. This sometimes happens with parents who are separated quite often, where they might have a child that they just gravitate toward because, again, they have lost that other emotional partner that, were supposed to be in the relationship, the husband, the wife, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, whatever, right? We are looking at trying to fill in the hole. And if we can't fill in the hole, then we are going to keep on looking for someone to fill in that gap. Of course, you can just say, there's many lonely nights and, this is my life now. You accept your circumstance, but then you're going into the standard of accepting less, accepting sadness, accepting anxiety and aloneness and stress, right? So we are getting past standards now. Let's get into the realm of expectations. What is your expectation for your child? What is the expectation for your husband, your wife? Do you have them? Have you talked about them? Most people don't. One of the things I have to do with the clients who come to me getting ready to divorce each other is that we have to go through these expectations because they have never talked about it. And if you are getting ready to get married, if you are newlyweds and you have not gone and got like marriage counseling or therapy before, I encourage you to go get some because you're going to learn the bare bones foundation of what you need in order for that relationship to last. Because today in our society, if it's broke, why even bother fixing it when I can order a new one on Amazon? But in dating, and you will order a new one on like Tinder or like Bumble or Match or something like that, right? Not saying that you order a person, but they're right there. You just have to swipe. And literally, if you think of how you order stuff on Amazon or Walmart or whatever, it's just a button. Buy now. Get now. Make me happy now. That is the expectation. So we have now gone to this assumption of we should be happy. You should make me happy. And this is more of the relationship aspect. But then even in a societal thing of the government should make me happy. You should be doing things that are better for me in accordance to me. And yet, even if you as a person are doing things that are detrimental to the progress that you can be making, even opposing what is happening, our assumptions, guess what? We are going to find ourselves on a slippery slope because we're just going to keep on assuming that we're going to be saved, that they're supposed to have the best intention for us, that they're supposed to do good by us. And I do wish that as people and that, as a society, we can say, hey, we should be treating each other well. We should be doing, justice, to each other. We should have good intentions for everyone around us. But the reality is many people have that single view of themselves, that one-way street. What is the best for me? My views, my emotions, my beliefs, my values, my character. That is all the things that we are giving ourselves. And then it creates an entitlement that when we fall into this aspect of looking at a situation where someone is, loving their child, we can say, oh, they're loving them wrong. Oh, that's inappropriate. But then again, the person who's touted around the country as supposed to be our savior and our leader and our greatest hope, he's on that same block as that person that you hate. So we are told to ignore the main person because they're that beacon, they're that hope. And then we start to look at the other people, right? We pass the attack off to someone else. It's almost like if you are trying to navigate a sticky situation, and the way you do it is by ignoring the situation and giving someone else a different problem to worry about. For example, we can use anything. Let's say you're at work and your boss asks, why don't you have the reports done? And you say, boss, I would love to get the reports done, but we just had a huge fire and we're trying to put out the fire. Boss is going to say, well, you're right. We need to put out that fire. He's not going to say, well, let's get the reports done. What takes priority? What takes precedence? Standards, expectations, and assumptions. We can assume that the sprinklers are going to knock out the fire. We can assume that someone else is coming with a fire extinguisher. We can assume that 911 was called. But what do we do, right? Maybe the expectation for the workforce is, pull the fire alarm, call 911, get to a safe spot versus, just doing what everyone else is doing. And most people in life, they just follow the standard. So the standard for that situation is that, well, I looked around and everyone else is not in panic. Everyone else is not doing their work. Everyone else is talking about this forest fire, or they're talking about this office fire, or whatever. Now the work is not getting done. So everyone else is on the same standard now. The expectation is that the work should have been getting done, but the standard is now lowered because everyone else is doing it. So is everyone going to get punished? Or is the mind going to say, well, since everyone else is doing it, I understand what's happening. And then you have to have a meeting, and then you have to create new expectations for individuals. Like, listen, just because, Bob and Mary are not working doesn't mean that you can also follow what Bob and Mary are doing. I'm going to handle Bob and Mary. But that's not how society works as a whole. It might work like that in your workplace where you can pinpoint the issue. But when you have a global populace of people doing the wrong things, the standard is going to be whatever the majority of people are doing. And even if it's not good. So those people are going to find themselves not wanting to work, not wanting to put themselves forward, meaning, giving themselves an aspect of discipline and being hardworking and prosperous and working toward abundance. They just kind of stay stagnant. Most people stay stagnant. And that's the reality. The expectation is that you're just going to work a 9 to 5 and you're going to work 65 and you're going to be okay. Maybe you get 2 weeks off a year and you'll find a way. But yet many people who follow that expectation, that standard, they find themselves on the other end unhappy. They find themselves on the other end not living true to themselves. When you become passive, you are that office worker who says, well, the reason I can't do my report is because there's an office fire, or because there's another situation. We have failed to accept accountability and responsibility. But we will pass that off to someone else if we see them doing wrong, even if we are doing negative things too. I know this is like a big thing with like people who watch like pornography and things along those lines. They might say, oh, it's so bad and things like that. But then they're the same people who are doing things, getting magazines. So it's like, are you this person that is like, oh, I'm almighty. I'm a person that you should be listening to and following. Hey, I'm human. I make mistakes. Then at the same time, I'm not going to be doing things that are going to be backtracking me from my progress. I want to make forward progress. So I'm doing things that are going to be beneficial to me, uplifting me. Now, I understand it's easy to assume because that's like, oh, I'm going to make an assumption. I'm going to do this. And for me, I try not to make assumptions. Hey, I'm human. I will. But at the same time, I'm letting my assumptions be true to protecting what could be possible. For example, that story that I said about the man and the daughter or whatever, I'm sure he probably went out, did an apology saying, hey, I'm so sorry that this happened. I didn't mean for this to happen. I'll be more aware of what's happening. But then at the same time, you don't know how he was, his true heart intent. It could have been that he never wanted to hurt anyone's feeling or that he didn't want to be presented in that way to the world. But then the world is going to assume, the world is going to say that you're going against the standard. And that's not the expectation you should have as a father or a man. We can look at different types of community. Black community, for example, the expectation is, let's hope the man is going to be there and show up when he's supposed to show up. But that's not reality. So we can attack individuals, and it doesn't even have to be just the attack on men and how they treat their kids and stuff like that, or how they discipline their kids, because I even know that there's attacks on that where, they would hit their kid with a belt or something. Did they deserve it? I don't know. But at the same time, who are we to say how a parent should parent, how someone else should love? Because we can look at situations where someone will be in a toxic relationship and we say, I don't want that. But then in their mind, they might say, this is exactly what I was looking for. It sounds crazy. We all have our own life to live, and we have to understand that we're not just trying to, make everything cookie cutter here in life. Oh, they do this. This is the mirror. This is the status quo. Let me follow this blindly. What do you truly want in life? So in closing, standards, expectations, and assumption is going to be my most recent blog. It is going to be a wonderful read, and I encourage everyone to check this out. I do go into a different direction here in the blog. We talk about the science, basically the mindset here, and then just understanding that if we're trying to aspire to get something in our life, we need to get these 3 areas under wrap. That is standards, expectations, and assumptions. Because if we confuse one or the other, we're going to find ourselves at a point when we're trying to push when we should be pulling. I say that analogy very similar to or akin to if you're like trying to get into a building and it says pull and you're pushing the door. You're not going to get in. We can belittle people. We can belittle men. We can belittle women. And we can even ask ourselves, what would we gain if we do that? Maybe there can be some benefit. I'm not sure. Maybe it depends on the situation. In the sense, it is maybe a form of bullying where you bully a person. And again, I'm human. I am definitely going to raise my hand first and say that there's times when my words can be misconstrued as bullying. But then again, you truly don't understand my intention. If you do not truly understand my intention, I understand that you might assume that I'm bullying, I'm belittling, I'm targeting, I'm assuming. But at the same time, I'm protecting an individual's responsibility to be true to themselves, to reach their full potential. Because if I see someone doing bad, I'm not going to say, well, they chose that standard, they chose that expectation for themselves. I'm just going to assume that they don't want help. But the reality is many people, they just want to be seen. Many people, they just want to be heard. Many people, they just want to feel like they belong. And sometimes they need some guidance. Sometimes they need some help. Sometimes they need a person who's going to remain neutral and listen to them so they can go after what they were meant to be or meant to do in life. There's a destiny that we, might be following. There might be a dream that we might be running toward or after. There is no right or wrong way to live life. Everyone's going to live differently. And who are we to say that you're living wrong? I understand that someone might be drinking and doing drugs, and we can say, well, I'm going to assume this person is no good. They're throwing their life in the drain. But then at the same time, that moment for them might be their rock bottom. It might be that propelling factor that helps them take action. Because many people who are stuck in the standard, they're not going to take action towards something better. Most people don't take action when things are going good or when things are going okay. They wait until something bad or trauma happens in their life. Is that the expectation that I'm going to wait for something bad to happen in order to change my life? That's the standard for sure. We can look at the statistics. People don't take action. People will readily assume if it goes against their ideals and their beliefs before they say, let's look into this deeper. Let's find the true meaning. And then when we do the research and when we do the work, the groundwork, then we can say, this is what I found. This is the evidence. This is what I can proudly say or confidently say that this is what we should be looking at, or this is what we can say is the reality of the situation. But yet many people, they pick and they choose. They pick and they choose their side. If their side is doing bad, they will turn a blind eye and say, well, we're not worried about them right now. We're worried about the other side that's not doing good. Okay? We're not saying both people are at fault. And if we do say that, it's just a way to say, you know what? We're just going to agree to disagree. And there's nothing to disagree on. The reality is people are going to live their life according to them. We can force people to live in our ideals. I wish people maybe might be more in tune to their mindset, more in tune to potential, more in tune to be go-getters in life. But at the same time, I understand not everyone is going to be doing that. You know what my target is? Only 25% of the world. That means 75% of people, I want nothing to do with them. And it's not that I don't want anything to do with them. I don't want you to twist my words. It's just that I understand that they're going to live their life according to their own ideals and beliefs. They're not going to change. And I'm not here to change people. I'm here to guide people. I'm here to help people understand their capabilities and their potential. If they want to step into that power, then let's step into it together. But if they do not want to step into that power, that's fine. You're with the 75%. I have developed a system that is geared at helping individuals achieve more in their life, get the mindset that they need to overcome this systematic approach to life and what it means to be human. Because we can follow these indoctrinated beliefs and thoughts, but then at some point we have to say, is this true for me? Is this what I want? Is this what I need? And if not, do you know how to make some changes? Do you know how to make the adjustments? And most people don't. Most people would rather follow the directions, do what they see, and then call it a day. But there's so much more to life. We have to be able to see that through the lens of different standards, expectations, and our assumptions. And if we can't, then we're going to continually fall into this loop of being angry when something doesn't come our way or when things are going in a direction that is not in line or in tune with us. At the end of the day, we should create our own standards, our own expectations, and our own assumptions for ourselves, rather than saying that these are mine and I'm going to give these same standards, expectations, and assumptions to someone else, or to a society, or to a group of people. This is not helpful. Point the finger at yourself. Start to make some changes on you. And then if people want to follow, great. If people don't want to follow, no problem either. Focus on what you can do. And what you are going to be in control of are your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And this is going to be the same with your standards, expectations, and assumptions. So again, everyone check out this blog. Check out the link in the description box below. Reach out to us if you're looking for some coaching, if you're looking to enhance yourself. We're going to be more than happy to help you on that journey. I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.